So we're here with Karen Moss today. She's a Brisbane human and a fantastic one of that. So Karen, would you first like to tell me what gives you joy and happiness in your life?
Well, for me, joy is just loving and caring for everyone and being surrounded by happiness, because I'm one of the fortunate people that was born with a positive outlook on life. So it's not too difficult for me to be happy and joyful. And I know that may seem unrealistic to some people because, of course, you get challenges and difficult situations to deal with, but they are just that. You deal with them and you still move on, and don't ever give up your joy.
So would you say you're a half glass full person?
Absolutely. Probably 3/4, truth be told.
Now Brisbane, what's your first memories of Brisbane?
I arrived in Brisbane from the country as a 10-year-old, and I think it was the first time I'd been on a train, in a taxi, saw City Hall, and honestly just about fell out of the car. I'd never seen such a building. I'd never seen a tall clock. Actually, I hadn't seen much of anything. And it was just the impression today. I can bring it up and I still feel that same feeling.
Right. So would you say that City Hall and the town square there is your favourite place in Brisbane, or do you have others as well?
I do have others, but I think because that was my first impression, I'll always love it. And because it's a place for the people and offers so much, it is probably my favourite. But that's not to take anything away from Anzac Square, South Bank or any of those places. I mean, I just have this affinity with King George Square and City Hall.
Beautiful. Now you come across Karen as a very creative and caring person. Can you tell me first about care? How important is care in your life?
Well, unfortunately, my husband had a terrible accident when he was 40. And so I learned very quickly that caring was going to be a major part of my life. Fortunately, we overcame a lot until he was 59, but since then he's needed a lot of care, and I am his carer. I also loved caring for my parents, my children. I was always there for anybody who needed help. So I think probably I'm a natural carer.
Tell me about your children. Have you gone through any difficulty with your children?
We are very blessed. We have 4 wonderful sons, all of them doing well in their careers, and the odd hiccup with family life for some of them, but all in all, we're very blessed. We did have a terrible heartache for a long time. Our number 3 son, Joseph, went to St Paul's School, and for those of you who don't know, that was the school that harboured a monster, and unfortunately Joseph was one of his prey. That affected us as a family because we didn't know at the time, and that was a really confronting and difficult thing. It changed our lives really, and we didn't know why, because of the secrecy and the way that we just didn't know.
Was your son able to heal from that?
Joseph's a magnificent person. He's in his 40s now, married with 3 children, a magnificent father. He lives for his family and he has a good career, but his teen years were very difficult. We didn't understand because we still didn't know about it, and we didn't understand what he was going through. We could so easily have lost him to drugs or lost him to, all sorts of depression or even self-harm. But we never gave up, and he sought the help that he needed. And yes, he's a good functioning person, and we're proud of him.
That's fantastic to hear about Joseph. Now, you're also a very creative person, and in writing poetry. Now, I understand you wrote a poem about that particular incident. Was that healing for you?
It was healing for me, and it wasn't until many years later. And I think it would be healing for most people who had been in that circumstance. And yes, I have never read it to Joseph,
Right.
because he would hurt for me, knowing that how we managed it all.
I understand you did share it with the principal of St Paul's.
I
is that
did,
correct?
I did, and he's going to include it in his thesis. In actual fact, he rang me when he read it one night, and he was in tears. It reduced him to tears, because this new principal, nothing bad would happen under his watch, but the old principal, he instigated it. He had to have known what was happening at the time. He protected this man, and the damage was done to a lot of boys, not just mine.
Are we able to hear the poem too, Karen?
Yes, I could read the poem. I often think of that day, the day you were robbed. We didn't know about it then, how could we? But you were robbed, we all were, and we could never be the same again. You were our beautiful boy, and we were a family. Not perfect, just your average, everyday family. We'd had our share of pain and sorrow, but after that day, we could never go back. We've always felt we let you down somehow. How could we know that long ago morning, a dark, ugly monster would invade your life, to rob you of your innocence and change you in a way that we could only try to comprehend? After that, there was confusion. Where once our house was a loud and happy place, a hazy cloud hovered full of menace. Now there was pain and anger, and no one knew why. The family as we had known it had gone. Now you had a dark, forbidden secret that must be hidden in the deep recesses of your mind. Difficult years followed when it seemed you might self-destruct. We watched your struggle with relationships, study, and your career, all contaminated by the sorrow of your past. Time passes and you confront your demons to wrest back control of your life. It is a work in progress, and we watch and we are proud of you. We wish we had protected you better. Today, we drove past your old school, that place where it happened, that place where you should have been safe. There can be no reunions there, because that is where you were robbed. We all were.
What do you like about Brisbane?
I like everything about Brisbane, but I guess mostly I like the climate, the people, and the accessibility of it. It's still small enough that we can enjoy all of the wonders that are there for us to just do, and places to be. South Bank, Mount Cootha, the Bay Islands. Our botanical gardens are also very beautiful, and the jacaranda trees, well, who needs to say anything about them? I've written a poem about them, so if you'd like to hear it. So many of them dotted around our city. They're not really ours to claim, and that's a real pity. But a love affair began long ago in 1864, to be precise, means they do belong here, ours to keep at any price. The purple of the flowers can quite take your breath away. Mass plantings of these trees, a visual feast to make your day. The frenzy of deep purple blooms against the backdrop of blue sky can bring you to a standstill instead of driving by. Purple petals make a carpet on the ground beneath the tree. Intoxicating beauty for one and all to see. Just one tree planted in the gardens in 1864. They number in their thousands now, and we keep planting more. Jacarandas in their magnificence herald in the spring. We revel in their beauty and the joy that they do bring. They're planted in our gardens, and we can sit on our veranda and gaze with awe and wonder at the tree called jacaranda. The challenges now are going to be guiding it in the right direction. I mean, obviously things can't stay the same, but because it's becoming more and more a destination, the infrastructure and the way in which everything's dealt with or served up really is going to become increasingly important. And I think to preserve the beauty of going on the river in a ferry up to the university, or, you know, people will make a difference, there's no doubt about that.
And how do you see the future of Brisbane, Karen?
Well, whether we like it or not, there's going to be big ocean liners bringing thousands of people in, and there's going to be people from southern states flocking up here to live, because they're doing that already. So yes, it's going to grow and grow, and the challenge will be for everything to grow with it, and for us to grow with it. Nothing stays the same. And really, I understand why people want to come and live here. I love it, and they will too. It's a people's place. King George Square is a people's place. The Christmas tree at Christmas will always be in everyone. Every child who goes there will remember it, because it just looks wonderful with City Hall as backdrop. And so with so much history, entertainment and treasures, there just has to be the best place. There's nothing like a glass of red wine. As a matter of fact, if you drink some red wine and a couple of squares of dark chocolate each night, you can decrease your cognitive impairment by 20%. Cheers.
Okay, one final question for you, Karen. A glass of red wine, is it better half full or half empty?
Oh, half full, of course. No other way.